Hello there, and welcome to the weekly outlook. Okay, there's a couple of currencies in focus next week, mainly the US dollar with the elections, and the New Zealand dollar, which has got a rate decision, which is 94% expected to cut their rates to 1.75%. Now, the US dollar, the what is expected, who wins the election, and how it's going to affect the dollar is a little bit of an unknown. So it's a little bit dangerous. So what I'm going to try and do is pair the New Zealand dollar with another currency. Which is based on risk sentiment. So we know that the Japanese yen strengthens in risk sentiment periods. A primary example of that was the non-farm payroll last week, which didn't come in as good as expected, and also we had various things come out with the pound and the Brexit vote. And you can see how the Japanese yen strengthened against the US dollar on that risk off tone. So I'm going to be looking for the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen for a sell, and I'm going to try and look to try and get in at the best possible price at the moment, which is around about 7,560. And you can see we have got a higher price as well at around about 7.6. This would be based on where my stop loss goes, so it's not looking at a huge stop loss on this. And what I'm looking at is the New Zealand dollar to start to sell off at the beginning of the week. Hopefully the Japanese yen will strengthen on the lead into the elections, which is just before the New Zealand dollar rate decision. And then if the rate cut comes through, then we should see a continuation and a fall back down to maybe prices as low as 7,280, and possibly even lower if it makes a new low. So that's going to be the primary sort of focus there. The other one that we could try is the pound New Zealand dollar. Now we know that recently we've just had an announcement that the Parliament MPs are going to have to vote on Brexit, which also has brought to light that maybe Brexit won't actually happen. You know, various opinions on this, but what's important is how we decipher that into the currencies. We know that the pound has been strengthening against the US dollar. It strengthened a little bit against the euro, but it's dragged a little bit against the New Zealand dollar here, and we can see where it did have a little bit of a push up there. It started to reject, but at the moment it's a fairly low price in terms of where it's been over the past sort of 6 months. It's pretty low down on the scale, and whether it can actually weaken anymore is another point of view. However, looking at smaller lot sizes maybe at this one, because the stop loss is fairly big, we'd have to have a stop loss below this swing low here, but we could be looking at trading this one in the long term all the way back up to 2150 if Brexit doesn't happen, or if it seems like it's not going to happen by the time it comes around to March next year. So there's a bit of time to get up there, and obviously there'll be plenty of opportunity to move stop losses if that trade works out. The other way is to wait to see if it breaks a new high around about 171.70, and see if that also takes a lead, and see if that works out as well. Or we could look at the smaller time frames and see if we get a bit of a pullback on where we've been so far. Where that little pivot point is there, where it's been testing that sort of period there, around about sort of 717, that could give an opportunity as well. So there's a few there to look at and possibly to trade. But what I'm looking at is selling the New Zealand dollar and possibly buying the Japanese yen and buying the pound over the next 5 days. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope you make some pips.